and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be on my top 5 tips for revising, and this is how I revise, so obviously this won't work for everyone, but hopefully it will help a bit. This video is sponsored by Brainzyme, which is a supplement company. They essentially make these little capsules. They're like little tablets. They look like, oh my gosh, this, just like little capsules, and they just contain completely natural vegan ingredients, just herbs with a little bit of caffeine and some green tea extract, and essentially I take them about mid-afternoon if I'm having a bit of a slump, and it's probably the caffeine, to be honest, but I don't like coffee, and I'd rather take these because they have more vitamins in than just like a hot cup of coffee, which I could also spill on my laptop. So yeah, they really do help, and I have linked a discount code in the description, so if you would like to get some of these then you can have 10% off. And also I may be doing a giveaway at some point, so stay tuned for that. So I'm aware that the A-levels are underway as well as the GCSEs, but last minute revision tips can be applied to uni as well. Obviously I still use them, and also the night before exams this is a really good way to do it. The way I've structured this is I've got 5 separate points, and it would be better if it's stretched over a wider period of time, but obviously I'm aware that there isn't a lot of time now, and a lot of these points are meant for like cramming. So my first tip, number 1, is colours. As you can see, these are my revision notes from last year's exam. I have lots and lots of colours, and the reason I've chosen these colours is because I did 4 different modules last year, and each module is a different colour, so it really helps to just kind of figure out in your brain how much you've done of each subject, so you're not focusing too much on one. It helps you separate it out visually. I've always been a big fan of colour. I have to use colour pens, so I have all of my notes here. These ones, I've got all the highlighters, so my archaeologists or anthropologists are in pink, and titles are in yellow just to separate them out from everything else. And I did this for my A-levels as well. I did like cue cards for geography, so I had case study cards with specific place details in purple, main facts in blue or black, and like titles in pink, for example. And it just helps you split things out on the page. Colours don't work for everyone because they can be quite overpowering, but I just think when you're coming back to revision notes after a while, it's much easier to figure it out in your mind when things are a bit separated and constant. So for example, this one I have again archaeologists in pink. This is because I ran out of yellow, which is why I've got green, but archaeologists are still in pink, and then I have quotes in orange. There's not really much more to say on colours. So my second point is that you need to condense to the key info. So I'll go back to this one again. This is a whole essay in note form. So how I revise for my university exams is that I have lots of essays that I did in tutorials. I then essentially turn them into a plan, put the key topics from each paragraph in a section. So these sections are paragraphs, and it just means that I can look over where my tutorial essays maybe weren't so strong and like re-plan them. So another way to do it is to do it in a flowchart. So you have essentially, again, a different square for each paragraph or for each area that you need to cover, and it can help you order the key information. So ideally you want, if you're doing an essay subject, to just have to sociology, for example, the theory, so functionalism with a key sociologist and the main points. If you're doing families and households, it could be functionalism, Parsons, expressive, what's the other one? What is that? Instrumental. So your key information can go on paper or you can put on a Word document. Personally, I think writing it out is much better because then your hand remembers it. It's like muscle memory. But I would say that when you're writing it out, it can be really easy to write it in just as much detail. So this is too much detail. So what I do after I do these big A4 ones is I cut the A4 page into 4 and I condense it even more. So again, these are one essay. And then once these feel like too much still, I condense it again down to one of these. So essentially giving yourself less and less space and more focus on the key points. Because once you've revised something that much, you can start to make the links yourself. And obviously I'm talking here, quite specifically about essay subjects, but the science subjects you can do a very similar thing in that you could do definitions on these, so mitochondria, powerhouse of cell, etc. Number 3 links very much into my last point, because the idea of condensing notes is that you eventually get to memorize them. Unfortunately, exams are memory tests. They really are. And this is why you could argue that grades are a social construct. Grades are a social construct? Grades are a social construct. Intelligence is a social construct because a lot of the time people can be very intelligent but just not very good at remembering things or at performing well under pressure. But unfortunately that's the way it is, and memory is often the key tool. So you need to remember stuff, and a good way to do that is to test yourself. So if you test yourself, you can have your facts on here. So this is my essay on bipedalism, which is the walking on 2 feet, and it was on the move from quadrupedalism to bipedalism. So I have different theories. So early theories which are out of date is going to be 1 paragraph, home-based model is another paragraph, thermal regulation is another paragraph. These are all reasons for walking on 2 feet. So I have to remember all of these different things, and the easiest way to do it is to do the cover and write down as many as you can in a set amount of time thing. So if I give myself 3 minutes to cover this up, write as many down as I can remember with as much information as possible, look at it, check my mistakes, do it again, and eventually you will memorise it. And this is a really good technique for very last minute exams. So if you have an hour the night before, or I wouldn't revise at the lunchtime before an exam because you need to have a little bit of time to calm down. But before that, before you have a last break, get your list of biology definitions or geography terms, case studies, look at them for 20 seconds, cover them, write as many down as you can think of. And then you can go on to thinking, okay, I've got different topic headings, I'm going to write down as many things I can remember from the different topics, and then add the ones you've forgot in a different colour pen, then you can see which ones you forgot. And quite often, because it's in a different colour pen, your brain remembers that more, and you're more likely to then write that first. If you then go and say open the booklet, want to write down everything you remember in note form before you do the essay. Now number 4, these all kind of link into one, but number 4 is repetition. So essentially you can't revise a topic once and know it. I don't think anyone is that smart to know something completely by revising it once. And because of that, you do need to revise it over and over again. It's boring, but you just gotta do it. This is just one period of your life where you can sacrifice some free time.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Deferred gratification. Use your A4 pieces of paper. Write it over and over again. Do a big one, then a smaller one, then an even smaller one. That is repeating it. Just like you are condensing it, you're also repeating the knowledge. It is not going to hurt to revise something one more time. Once you get to, say, I don't know, 24 hours before the exam, I've been told, and lots of people get told and say that I'm not going to learn any more new content 24 hours before the exam. And you don't want to start a brand new thing because you can't repeat it enough times before the exam. What you can do is really consolidate what you already know. There's no point stopping revising 24 hours before an exam because you're on that last push. I don't see the point in giving up that close to goal. You just want to keep going. Don't stress yourself out. Stop at, I don't know, like 8, 9 PM, go for a nice walk around the block or a little cycle or a run, or to the gym, have a shower, go to bed. Really long sleep. Get up at 6, 7. Cram a bit more over breakfast, but don't stress yourself out. Just read it. Try not to panic over it. The best thing to do on the morning is to look over stuff you've already done and maybe write the names out a few times just to get your hand ready for its 2 or 3 hours of movement, you know? So number 5, and my last point, is teaching. So to teach people what you know is possibly one of the most effective ways of revising that you can do. So even if it's on the morning of the exam, or the night before the exam, or if you have a group study session, if you have learned everything on Near East agricultural origins, and you want to then, like, reinstate the knowledge that Helmer 2008 said that sheep at Kafir Hoyt are morphologically wild, or that Bar-Yosef and Meadow 1995 put emphasis on the Levant, then what you need to do is teach someone that. Find someone who doesn't know anything about archaeology, or whatever subject you're doing. Even find a classmate who perhaps put more emphasis on revising gender, you know? Teach them what you know, and then you'll make sure you know what you're talking about, and if you forget, you'll check, guaranteed, because you want to be right. And then they will also know, and then they can teach you what they know. And because you've done it in a physical form of interaction, you've had to get to the back of your mind. It's the sort of zone you would be in the exam. You get to that, you have to think, you have to have succinct ideas. It will really, really help you to consolidate that knowledge. So I remember the morning of my exam, I was going through, I'll find which, no, okay, I don't know where it is, but it was on Mesopotamia and Egypt. Oh, it's that one. One of my tutorial partners hadn't revised this topic anywhere near as much as she had revised one of the anthropology topics. So I was teaching her about Mesopotamia and Egypt, but not in detail, just the key facts that she would need to know for an essay. And it really helps because then you know you've remembered them. Thank you for watching. I hope these help. Once again, I will link these in the description. They are certified safe on like British food standards and real science, and they are made in Britain. The only side effect is like that you get quite thirsty, but you need to drink a lot of water anyway to stay hydrated. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you don't already, and give me a thumbs up or comment. Interaction is always really nice. So yeah, thank you all. Bye bye.